Chapter 4 "Our source found evidence in the FBI case," Molson announced as he came uninvited into Holly's office. Holly saved her document and closed her laptop, putting aside her glasses. "Hello, Molson. Would you please have a seat?" He was already sprawled on her couch, ignoring her slightly chiding greeting.
"This thing is comfortable."
Sighing, Holly got up from her desk. "Evidence in the FBI case?" Molson ignored her prompting as he got to his feet.
"I think that this would constitute another favor."
"At this rate, no one is going to know how many favors are owed to whom." She rolled her eyes.
"I know exactly what is owed."
Molson gave her a slow grin.
"Unless you don't want to know what the evidence was."
"I want to know," Holly said grudgingly. "Fine, I owe you a favor."
"She illegally obtained a record of the lead FBI agent's bank account records. He's been receiving money far above his pay grade ever since David was released and Michael was charged instead with money laundering and drug smuggling. It comes from an untraceable source," Molson informed her. "We think he's getting the money from David as a bribe to change things with the investigation."
"Would that be tampering? Can the case against Michael be dismissed?" Holly asked with excitement. "If the money can be traced to David, that's proof that he's the criminal."
"Key words are illegally obtained," sighed Molson. "Information can't be used."
"Then what good is it?" questioned a disappointed Holly.
"It's not much good at all. Just another piece of the puzzle that says we're on the right path," admitted Molson.
"What about you? Have you made any progress with your gang friends?" she asked.
"We ain't exactly friends," Molson responded dryly. "It's not like we hang out for fun."
"Whatever." Holly dismissed his touchiness over the subject. "What did you find out?"
"Nothing yet. I'm still working my way up the food chain to the people that will be able to help," he told her. "It takes time."
"We don't have much time." Holly pointed to the newspaper that was on her desk. "The pretrial starts this week for Michael."
"That's not good," frowned Molson.
"No, it's not good at all," Holly agreed. Their self-imposed deadline was looming ever closer. They would still keep trying afterward in hopes of getting any verdict against Michael overturned. It would just be easier to get it dismissed before a trial. She realized that Molson had gotten too close to her again. "What is it with you and crowding me?"
"Excuse me?" questioned Molson.
"You're in my personal space." Holly stood her ground.
"I was looking at the paper," prevaricated Molson.
"Liar," she accused him without any real heat.
"Whatever you say, beautiful." "I like the way you smell," he told her with a lazy smile.
"You like the way I smell?" Holly raised an eyebrow. "Somehow I doubt that."
"It's true," he insisted gently, one hand reaching out to pull an escaped strand of hair behind her ear. "How come you always pull away?"
"I did not give you permission to put your hands on me," Holly informed him primly.
"What if I gave you permission to put your hands on me?" "Anytime, anywhere you want," Molson drawled lazily.
"Then nothing would happen?" she tartly told him.
"How about I call in one of those favors?" Molson asked her.
"For what exactly?" Holly frowned, not certain where this was going. He had been flirting with her, and now she worried he might want something more.
"Just one kiss."
Molson's finger strayed along her neck, causing her to shiver.
"One kiss only."
"A kiss?" Holly was relieved and confused. "Is that what you want?"
"I think one kiss will either make or break," mused Molson. "Either you'll choose to kiss me again or you won't."
"Just one kiss," she clarified. "You won't ask for any more kisses? Or any other physical requests?"
"I promise," agreed Molson. "Even if it's going to be torture, you'll have to initiate the next move."
Holly was reassured. "That will never happen. You are quite safe from me. Unlike you, I don't have roving hands."
"Only with you, beautiful," responded Molson. "Do we have a deal?"
Okay, she decided. What harm could one kiss do? He gave a self-satisfied smile, and Holly braced herself. It was a simple kiss, she told the butterflies fluttering through her abdomen. People kissed all the time. It was not a big deal. Molson, ever so gently, ran the fingers of both his hands along her jaw before tilting her head a little. He stepped in and brushed the lightest of kisses over her lips. Holly held her breath in anticipation. Yet nothing further happened. Her eyes snapped open as he slowly released her, stepping back. "That's it?" she questioned a little unsteadily, her heart racing. Part of her was disappointed. She had the sneaking suspicion that a real kiss from him would tilt the entire world. Part of her was glad he had not gone any further. She wasn't sure she could deal with that side of Molson. He gave her a lopsided grin.
"Only if you want it to be. It's now up to you to make the next move since I gave you a promise."
She straightened her shoulders. "Don't hold your breath."
"Yet I am," he told her. "I'll wait in anticipation for you, beautiful."
"Would you stop calling me that?" Holly tersely replied.
"Nope."
Molson tucked her newspaper under his arm.
"When you're ready to kiss me, let me know."
"I'm not sure I'll ever be ready to kiss you," Holly said honestly. Being ready to and wanting to were two very different things.
"I think you want more than just a kiss."
Molson had a self-satisfied smile as he looked down at her.
"I think you might even want a date."
"Where would you get that idea?" she frowned.
"When you're ready, you can come to me at any time," he told her,
while heading for the exit. "That's my paper," Holly protested weakly. She sighed as the door closed behind him. Molson pinned his identification badge back on as he walked down the corridor of the hallway. He didn't want to have any issues with security, even though he knew that they had a habit of stopping him anyways. It was the tattoos. The staff was still getting used to a guy with gang tattoos being allowed to come and go in the hospital as he pleased as one of the staff members.
"What would you do with a newspaper?"
Dr. Fielding asked rudely as he spotted Molson approaching. Molson pulled the paper out from under his arm.
"Despite my education, I can read."
Fielding pursed his lips in disapproval.
"You are supposed to be making rounds, not buying the paper. If you disappear again, I will report you." "Yes, sir."
Molson decided not to mention that it had been his lunch break. Fielding would not want to listen anyways.
"You can be with me for the rest of the day."
Fielding did not look overjoyed at the prospect. If anything, he glowered.
"I think it might be best if I keep my eye on you."
Wonderful, thought Molson. He would have preferred if Fielding had let him run scut with the others.
"Yes, sir."
He followed Fielding as they met with patients around the hospital. Molson watched as Fielding discussed care, made different diagnoses, and generally ignored Molson's presence. He was supposed to be asking Molson to participate, but had not done so once. Finally, Molson had enough of it.
"You have a dislocated shoulder,"
he verbally jumped in to tell a patient when Fielding was about to give his diagnosis.
"We can put it back in, but you'll need x-rays to rule out any broken bones."
Fielding ground his teeth. "Will the x-rays hurt?" the young teenager asked in concern.
"Will he be okay in time for the game this weekend?" the father asked. "The x-ray itself won't hurt," Molson assured the boy. "The technician might ask you to move or hold your arm a certain way. That might hurt a little. But if it does, just let the technician know, okay?"
"Okay," the boy nodded as he held onto his arm.
"I'm sorry," Fielding addressed the dad. "Your son will need to rest the shoulder. He won't be playing any sports this weekend."
They exchanged a little more information before Fielding brought Molson out into the hallway.
"Do not do that again."
"What?" Molson raised an eyebrow mockingly.
"Participate? I thought that was part of the residential program. Hands-on training?"
"Not for you."
"Patients are afraid of you," growled Fielding. "You and your gang tattoos. Just stay in the corner and be quiet." "I didn't come here to stay in a corner. I came here to learn. Molson narrowed his eyes. Maybe if I wasn't all staring in the background with my gang tattoos, I wouldn't seem so scary. I'm the instructor, Colburn. Do not forget it, Fielding insisted angrily. You're the one who doesn't belong here. The only one saying I don't belong here is you, muttered Molson. The mother in exam 3 was terrified of you, Fielding pointed out, none too nicely. She looked like she was waiting for you to pull out a knife and murder us all. You're exaggerating. Molson had noticed the woman give him a second look. He was used to that. He told himself it was not a big deal. The security staff is constantly verifying with me that you're not posing as a doctor, a gang member trying to steal drugs, complained Fielding. Molson wondered if that was true or not. They did stop him more to check his identification badge than any other person he saw at the hospital. They'll get used to having me around. You are not fit for this profession. Fielding walked to the nurse's station to exchange charts. The sooner you drop out of the program, the better for all concerned. I'm not dropping out, Molson insisted quietly. He plucked the new chart out of Fielding's hand. Do you think that I'm going to give you a passing grade on the practicum? Fielding hissed as he snatched the chart back. You are lazy, insolent, have gang associations, and are insubordinate. Shall I go on? You're cheating academically. I'm not sure how, but once I figure it out, you can bet I will be going to the board to get you banned from every medical school in the country. I am not cheating. Molson took a deep breath so that he would not lose his temper. Losing his calm would not help the situation any. You have perfect scores. No one gets perfect test scores, least of all a person like you. Fielding gave him a look of condemnation. What is that supposed to mean? Molson's voice had dipped dangerously low. You are the type of person to be selling drugs on the corner to teenagers, answered Fielding. I was told that you're not even taking out student loans. How are you paying for your schooling? Illegal proceeds? You don't know me. Molson forced himself to unclench his jaw and uncurl his fingers. He was not going to get in a fight with this man, he told himself. Nothing would be gained by doing so. You don't know anything about me. Hi, Daddy. Holly approached both of them, a surprised look on her face. Molson, do you know each other? Daddy? Molson's stomach sank like a rock, leaving a sour taste in his mouth. Of all the people she could be related to, he would never have suspected Fielding. They didn't even share the same last name. Then again, neither did Molson and his father. Colburn is a residency student, Fielding said curtly. Really? Holly sensed the tension between the two men. I didn't know. That's amazing. It is. Molson forced himself to smile tightly. He shoved his hands in his scrub pant pockets so they would not be tempted to reach out to touch her in front of her dad. Your dad has been kind enough to personally take me under his wing. Fielding gave him a suspicious look, wondering if he was being sarcastic. I will see you for dinner. Sure. Holly gave them a smile and continued on her way. Keep your eyes to yourself, Fielding curtly commanded. Molson dragged his gaze away from Holly and took a deep breath. This was not good. He knew that Holly was out of his league. Now she was also the daughter of the man who hated his guts. He had known this was going too well. Nothing in his life was ever easy, Molson reflected. Colburn, Fielding glowered at him. Get a move on. Coming, muttered Molson. Holly thought about Molson's offer of a date. She thought about nothing else all day. No, that wasn't true. She thought about that kiss as well, or non-kiss, as it were. As a non-kiss, it had evoked a lot of feelings. Ones Holly wasn't sure if she was ready to feel. The butterflies, the excitement when he was around, the attraction. She had told herself it was because he could help her in the case against David, making him pay for trying to harm Bethany. Now she knew better, because she wanted to repeat the kiss.
Then she thought about the tension she had sensed between her dad and Molson. The two men were not getting along. Holly was happy to see her last patient of the day leave. Finally, she could be alone and think about Molson. Laying on the couch, she coached herself through some basic questions, just like she would for any client of hers. What did she want? Holly asked herself. To find out what a real kiss with Molson would be like. Why? Because she found him interesting. He was a mix of conundrums. He tried to give off this bad boy, I don't care attitude, but the truth was that he cared very much. Molson thought he had done a wrong, and he was committed to right it. She could respect that. Many people would have simply thought they were too powerless to do anything. Molson was trying to take action to change what had happened. It was also interesting the way he kept reaching out to her. Flattering, she corrected herself. Holly admitted she was flattered by his blatant flirting and attention. The first time they had met, he winked at her. Now he was not even trying to keep his fingers from giving lingering caresses. It did not seem to matter how many times she had batted his hands away. He came back, invading her space, smiling, making remarks, never pushing more than what she was comfortable with, but testing the edges of the boundaries, still flirting. Somehow, in such a short space of time, Holly had gotten used to Molson's touch. She wondered if he really could manage to keep his hands to himself, to not crowd her space like he promised after their kiss. He said she needed to make the next move. Did she want to? Holly had to admit she did. She wanted to know what a real kiss from him would be like. She was curious to explore where things might go. He was not her type at all. She always dated guys she felt her father would like. Since losing her mother during her childhood, Holly had been a daddy's girl. She tried hard to make him proud of her. The only time that she had deviated from the plan was becoming a psychiatrist rather than a physician. She was still a doctor, and so the compromise had been a minor disappointment to her father. She dated doctors. Stand-up guys who were clean-cut, made good money, and were so very busy. Not that Holly wasn't busy as well. She was, so she understood a hectic schedule. However, the dates were all so bland. It had been a while since she had dated anyone. Limiting herself to doctors had not made for many men to choose from. Then again, had her father ever asked her to only date from the physician pool? Or had she done it in an instinct to please him? Why was she always trying to please her father and not herself when it came to the men she dated? Molson was right about never fighting with her dad. Holly frowned. She could not remember a single real argument they had. Oh, they disagreed, but her dad would get his way, and she would swallow any words of protest. He chose where they were going to eat when they met for lunch or dinner. She loved her father, but was she letting him determine too many areas of her life? What if she did go on a date with Molson? She doubted her dad would approve, even though Molson was working on becoming a doctor. Maybe that was part of the allure, a late rebellion of sorts. Well, if she was going to rebel, she might as well do it right. Holly smiled in anticipation at the thought, fingering a business card with an address on it. Molson had dropped it on her desk during one of his visits. She decided to cancel dinner with her father and go out instead. He was disappointed. Molson was not getting very far. He had put a bug in various ears asking for audiences, always a little higher up each time, and he was starting to get a little blowback. No one wanted to talk to him. He was persistent. Molson was probably becoming annoying, harassing gang members every time he saw them, telling them he needed to speak to someone higher up on the food chain. Molson sighed and tried to concentrate on work. Sammy wiped his greasy hands on the greasy rag. It was hard to tell which had more grease on it, the rag, Sammy, or his overalls. "Time to close up." Molson was tired. The hours at the hospital, the shop, looking after Margot, it was all getting to him. He finished sanding a burr on the compartment that was being readied to install in a car, then put away his tools. The other guides were already headed for the exits. "You locking up?" grunted Sammy. "I got it." Molson nodded. He was last, and he knew Sammy had tickets to a game that he planned to take his son to. It would be unfair to make Sammy wait while Molson washed up. "Good." Sammy was out the door with a whistle. Molson enjoyed the silence of the building while he washed his hands, arms, and face. He peeled off his coveralls, putting them away in his locker, exchanging his work boots for more comfortable shoes. The door opened, and he could hear shoes sounding across the cement floor. "We're closed." Molson finished tying his laces and straightened up. "Good. I was hoping to catch you before you left." Holly smiled as she approached. She looked curiously around. "What do you do here?" Surprised that she was there, Molson took a moment to answer. "We custom-fit compartments into vehicles. We replace the glass with bulletproof and put extra shielding in panels. When it's done, it looks like a regular car." "Who needs a car with secret compartments and to be bulletproof?" wondered Holly. "The mayor," shrugged Molson. "Politicians, some famous people, rich or people who are big in business." "I guess I never really thought about it," mused Holly. Molson looked at her curiously. "Why are you here?" "I changed my mind about that date you offered," Holly informed him. It had been a bit of a surprise to herself when she had decided to come. "Yeah?" Molson's lips tugged into a smile before it disappeared as realization struck him. "I made plans." "Oh." Holly tried not to be disappointed. She had hoped that he was serious about her when he asked her out, not just one of his games. "I guess we could go out some other time." "No." Molson grabbed her hand before she could leave, threading his fingers through hers. "Come with me. It won't be like a real date or nothing, but we could spend time together." "Okay." Holly was pleased. "You got comfortable shoes?" Molson looked down at her feet. "Always," replied Holly. She was not one for heels. Flats were as fancy as she got. Tonight she wore sneakers with her jeans. "Good, 'cause we're going to do a lot of walking," he told her as he pulled the duffel bag out of his locker. After locking up the shop, he approached a motorcycle, taking out an extra helmet for her. "Is that yours?" Holly eyed the bike. "It's Drew's. I borrowed it." Molson held out the helmet to her. "You don't ride?" "I've never been on one," she admitted. "You'll love it." A grin crept along his face. Molson helped her with putting the helmet on before straddling the bike. "Hop on." Holly gingerly sat behind him. He showed her where to put her feet. "Hug me like your life depends on it," he told her. "Excuse me?" Holly was surprised that his voice was so clear. Then she realized there was a speaker system in the helmets. "Unless you want to fall off," Molson warned her as the bike roared to life. Holly frantically grabbed him, ignoring his laughter in her ear as he pulled away from the parking lot. It was a short drive, leaving her both relieved and disappointed. "You first, beautiful." He took off his helmet. "Oh." Holly quickly peeled her hands off of him, awkwardly getting off the motorcycle. She pulled off her own helmet, hoping her hair did not look that bad. "Did you like it?" Molson stowed the helmets away. "I am reserving judgment," Holly said breathlessly. Whether it was from the ride or being such close proximity to Molson, she didn't know. "Where are we?" "Come on." He took her hand, pulling her toward the back door of a building. Knocking, Molson waited until a man in an apron opened it. "Pedro?" "Molson." Pedro greeted him. "I'll have your stuff in a minute. Who's the lady?" "Holly, meet Pedro." Molson introduced them. "Pedro volunteers here at the soup kitchen. Holly's helping me out tonight. Maybe with an extra set of hands I won't need to make 2 trips. "Smart thinking," nodded Pedro. He propped the door open, then disappeared, only to return with a pull cart stacked with styrofoam containers. I can get the second cart ready in a jiffy.
Thanks.
Molson carefully maneuvered the cart out the door and down the step. What is this? Holly stepped in to help him.
Soup. Smells like tomato today,
sniffed Molson. He pulled out a container, popping it open.
Yep, tomato.
Why is he giving you... There must be nearly 100 containers of soup here, estimated an awed Holly. Molson replaced the lid and put the container back in the wire cart.
75 in each cart. I bring around 2 carts, plus luncheon packs.
Holly frowned, confused. She was about to ask another question when Pedro reappeared with a large tote, handing it to Molson.
Cheese and crackers. Chocolate spread and breadsticks,
he informed them before helping to haul another cart out the door and down the step. Grabbing a second tote, Pedro put it on top of the cart.
You sure this little lady can handle the weight of the cart?
We'll find out. Molson stacked both totes on top of his cart.
Thanks, Pedro.
No problem. He gave them a friendly wave before returning to the kitchen, shutting the door after himself. What are you going to do with all this food? Questioned Holly.
Hand it out.
Molson tugged his cart along.
Come on.
Unsure, Holly pulled on her cart, following him. It was pretty heavy, and she was glad that she was physically fit, because otherwise she would never have been able to pull it along. She was also glad she did not have either of the totes to haul or the duffel bag that Molson had brought along.
You gonna be okay? It's not too heavy?
Molson asked her partway into the second block.
I might be able to put another layer of soup in my cart if I'm real careful about it.
No, I'm good. Holly puffed beside him. Where are we going?
A few more blocks and then we start near the laundromat, he told her.
Start what? Holly tried to regulate her breathing and wished she had done a little more strength training at the gym instead of all that cardio. Giving away the soup?
You'll see.
Molson gave her a smile.
You're stronger than you look.
Is that a compliment? She pulled a little harder over a rough spot in the sidewalk.
Absolutely.
He gave her an appreciative glance. When they got to the laundromat, Holly was ready for a break. She sat down on the back step. Thank goodness.
It gets easier as the night goes on, he told her. The load gets lighter as we give more away.
Good. Holly was going to need a shower by the time they were done. Molson just grinned at her before walking down the alley. Hey, Holly yelled after him. You're not just leaving me here.
Nope,
Molson replied. He crouched down in front of a cardboard box and began talking to someone. Holly was so busy watching Molson that she didn't notice someone else approach her.
Miss, you helping Molson tonight?
A tall, thin man looked down at her. Holly jumped in surprise. I am. Sorry. Yes, I am helping Molson. My name is Holly, and you are? Jeff, he rasped as he coughed into his hand. He extended the same hand to her in greeting. Pleased to meet you. Holly hesitated for only a moment before shaking his hand. Are you okay?
Been getting a bit of a cough, Jeff told her. Can't seem to shake it. Gio, my man, Molson greeted the older fellow. Have a seat. I think I will. Jeff sat down beside Holly. I will admit to feeling a bit winded. How are you today? I see you got yourself a pretty lady with you. She promised to help for the whole evening without complaining.
Molson grinned, setting down his duffel bag, rummaging within it. I'm pretty sure that's not what I agreed to. Holly was amused at his teasing. I agreed to go out on a date, and somehow I've turned into his pack mule. Jeff laughed, then coughed again.
That ain't no good, frowned Molson, pulling out a stethoscope. Can I have a listen? Listen away, rasped Jeff.
Placing the chest piece of the stethoscope on Jeff's back, he instructed the man to breathe in deeply.
How's the knee?
Right as rain. Jeff pulled in a deep of breath as he could manage.
Again.
Molson concentrated on listening as he moved the stethoscope over to listen to the other lung.
You gonna make me use up all the air?
Jeff kidded before taking another deep breath.
Here.
Molson pulled the stethoscope out of his ears, handing it to Holly.
Listen, this is my lung.
Curious, Holly inserted the earpieces and listened. It sounds like breathing in stereo.
This is Jeff.
Molson pressed the chest piece to Jeff's back.
Breathe in one last time. You tell me what it sounds like,
Jeff told Holly before he pulled in air.
I want to know.
Holly frowned. There's a crackling noise. It's faint, but it's there. Molson nodded.
Jeff, if you go to a hospital, they'd give you a chest x-ray.
Can't afford no hospital. Jeff shook his head.
My health plan lapsed years ago.
Holly knew there were programs to help individuals who could not afford health care. She also knew these programs did not always cover all hospital bills, many times leaving people with staggering debt they could not repay. What are you going to do?
I'm guessing it's pneumonia, responded Molson. Without an x-ray, I can't be certain. It's only in the lower lungs so far. With antibiotics, it should clear up, unless it's not pneumonia.
He needs a prescription to get antibiotics, frowned Holly. Jeff would have to visit a doctor anyway.
Don't need any doctor. We've got Molson, nodded Jeff.
Molson searched through his bag, pulling out a pill bottle. He counted out a few pills, putting them into an envelope that he wrote the instructions on.
1 in the morning, 1 at night.
Yes, sir. Jeff took the packet, putting it in his shirt pocket. How do you have antibiotics? Holly took the bottle, examining it.
I have my sources.
Molson took 2 soup containers and 4 snack packs, handing them to Jeff.
By the way, Candy thinks you're cute.
Candy? Holly asked, distracted as Molson took the bottle of pills, putting them away. Who?
The lady in the cardboard box, explained Molson. She's super shy, so don't go scaring her.
Oh. Holly looked toward the box.
I think you're cute too, beautiful.
Molson smiled, grabbing some more containers of food and taking them to Candy. How long has Molson been doing this? Holly asked thoughtfully.
Years, shrugged Jeff. I don't rightly know. I met him about 3 years ago. Since then, he's been feeding and doctoring me when I need it. I tell you, if there were more people in this world like him, it would be a better place. Ready for the next stop?
Molson asked as he approached them. Ready. Holly got to her feet. It was nice to meet you, Jeff.
You two have a good night.
He uncapped one of the soups, smelling it.
Stay out of the wet weather, Molson advised him. I'll check on you later.
They grabbed the carts and trekked along the alley. Holly met Rebecca, who had an ulcer on her leg. She was a cheerful woman, happy to see Molson and exclaim over Holly. She met Ike, who had recently gotten a part-time job at a Chinese restaurant, scrubbing dishes. Ike was slow mentally, but otherwise grateful for Molson's help and proud of his new job. Then there were so many others, all with varying mental health issues, physical health issues, and in need of food. Holly was surprised when Molson also handed out toothpaste, soap, toothbrushes, combs, replaced refillable water bottles, nail clipping kits, and even socks. If their socks are bad, their feet become bad, he explained. It's just preventative. Holly watched as he bandaged scrapes and cuts. She chatted with the people they met, learning about them as Molson applied ointment, handed out medical advice, and generally greeted these people like old friends. Perhaps they were. How often do you do this? Holly dragged her now empty cart behind. Night had fallen, and he had given her a flashlight for when they left the better-lit areas of the city.
Once or twice a week. I try for twice, but it's not easy with working in the hospital hours, Molson responded. This part of town, I want you to stay close. If I don't talk to a person first, you don't talk to them. Don't ever come here alone. Bad things happen here.
Then why are we walking here? Holly moved a little closer to him.
'Cause people need help, Molson said simply.
Are you worried something will ever happen to you? She wondered.
When I started doing this, helping people out, I got some flack from some of the gangs in the area, shrugged Molson as he explained. After a while, some of them realized I was doing more good than harm. They would bring their injured to me, and I didn't rat anyone out. A side benefit was that a lot of users were healthier because of the care I gave, so they used longer. Only sometimes could I get some of them into rehab programs. We came to an agreement. I get to help people without being harassed. They get side benefits like free medical care for their members.
Molson pointed to his neck tattoos.
It started with just 2 of the gangs, and now it's 6 of them.
The tattoos are to let you pass through their territories, surmised Holly. Molson nodded. He approached a group of perhaps 6 people waiting under the light of a building near a dumpster. One woman was holding a child on her hip.
"Look what we got. Doc Molson brought a girl," a woman chortled.
"Ain't got my designation yet."
Molson set down his duffel bag, ruffling the little child's hair.
"Good thing, too. He might start charging."
A man limped over to join the group.
"Then none of us could afford him."
"You ain't gonna start asking for money, are you?" a younger woman, still in her teens, asked.
"I ain't charging," Molson assured them.
Holly handed out food, rationing out the soup and snack packs as Molson heard individual complaints and investigated before giving medical attention. Holly answered questions about herself, learning more about the people they met.
"Here, use the antifungal cream twice a day."
Molson gave a man a tube before packing away the rest of the medications. Holly tucked her hand in Molson's arm as they continued onward. "I think this is one of the best dates I've ever been on."